Hey, what is up, disc golfers? Today on Iceberg TV, we've got a really fun episode of Weird Stuff Wednesdays for you today. Today, I've got a very old school RPM disc. We have the RPM Arcturus. This is an episode I'm excited to do. I've not thrown this disc, but I've really wanted to, but I want to get my first initial reaction to throwing it on video for you guys. The Arcturus eventually became one of my favorite mid-ranges, the RPM Pia Waka Waka, which has been coming in and out of my main bag for years now. RPM discs, before they rebranded as RPM, was called Disc Golf Aotearoa, which is this word right here. And I'm sure there's some New Zealanders that are going to see this video. You can tell me how my pronunciation is. Aotearoa. So that's how I'm going to pronounce it in today's video. But the Arcturus and the Pia Waka Waka are essentially the same mold. And what I think is really cool about this Arcturus, it's one of RPM's most ancient discs, and you don't see these coming around very often, and you don't really get them in this plastic blend very often either. RPM tends to focus on their newer plastics, their cosmic plastic, and all kinds of other cool plastics, but you don't see this like baseline star looking plastic come around very often. And I really love this just kind of point and shoot sort of old school stamp they used to use. Was very, very cool to me. So it's been raining for a few days straight. The ground is nice and wet, so we'll be able to test out the old disc Raptor as well. But this is the first throw with the Arcturus, and then we'll go Pia Waka Waka. Yeah, that's dead straight. That's what I love about the Pia Waka Waka. It's like, I love the Meteor. When the Meteor gets kind of turned, it wants to just start drifting to the right. The Pia Waka Waka will hold the line a little bit better. I feel like I can get it to go straighter for longer, or if I force it over, I can get it to turn more. I feel like I can do more different shot shapes with the Pia Waka Waka than I can the Meteor. So there's that kind of force over shot. RPM is one of those more niche brands, I would say. Not a ton of people in the United States are throwing them. They have a few sponsored players roaming around the US, and they actually make some really solid discs. Where I think their lineup fails is their distance drivers. I think their distance drivers, if you were to bag only RPM, you're just not going to be satisfied with your lineup. But with that being said, most people don't need to throw a full RPM bag, and they definitely have some really, really good and solid molds that can fit into most players' bags of any and all skill level. We'll go Arcturus and then Pia Waka Waka. Just love that laser beam, dead straight flight. That Arcturus might be a hair more stable than this Cosmic one. This is a very early Cosmic run from New Zealand Disc Golf Championships in Waitawa in 2015. I believe my dad gave this to me. He got it off one of the used bins in Australia. He might even have got this one in New Zealand. So that orange one I've thrown quite a bit. So that's kind of that more seasoned and beat-in flight. Super easy turnovers. Really easy disc to throw. I think the flight numbers are 5500. And a disc that advertises a 0 turn and a 0 fade, I'm always a little suspect of, because discs that don't fade usually have some turn to them, but I think that's about as close as you can get to a 0-0 without having to, worry about the disc turning or fading too much. That disc seems to be right in the sweet spot. When I was living in Australia, you would definitely see a lot more people representing brands from New Zealand and Australia. You would see a lot more people throwing Fourth Circle discs, a brand founded in Australia. You'd see a lot more people throwing and sponsored with RPM bags, RPM discs. You definitely don't see that as much in the US. I think it will start happening eventually, but they don't make like a super huge push to advertise their stuff. They sponsored Drew Gibson and gave him a signature disc, the Kotuku or White Heron, but I don't think he does a great job of promoting that either. So I would like to see a little bit more RPM representation out on tour. All right, so we'll throw the New Zealand Championships Pia Waka Waka, and then we'll throw the Aotearoa Arcturus. Just put it out on like a baby hyzer. I mean, that is 100% a more stable flight. It's hard to find discs that stay straight for that long. And those Pia Waka Wakas stay straight for days, and they're awesome. Alrighty, we'll give each disc one last toss. Again, as you can see, maybe this one's a slightly pointier, this Arcturus. But I mean, in general, my general opinion, I think that these definitely came out of the exact same mold. The Pia Waka Waka was just rebranded and reapproved with a different name, but I think it's the exact same disc, but it's definitely not flying like the exact same disc. But you can't beat that flight. That's just so crispy, especially when you play, you know, somewhere kind of like at where I play in the woods. I'm always playing in the woods unless I'm out here on the golf course. I need discs like that to carve up the woods, have confidence that I'm going to be able to stay inside these tight wooded gaps. Courses like Hornet's Nest, Nevin, Bradford, all these wooded courses, you need discs like this in your bag. And this is one of the best discs like this that's on the market. Oh yeah, I love that height. Just look how dead straight that thing is. So good. All right, we'll go grab them and we'll wrap things up. All right, guys, that is my review of the RPM Pia Waka Waka and the feature for Weird Stuff Wednesdays, the Aotearoa Arcturus. I'm sure a lot of you guys have never seen one of those before. I know when I saw it, I had never seen one before. And after inquiring further, I realized it was one of my favorite molds just before it became the Pia Waka Waka. It was called the Aotearoa Arcturus. Anyway, it's quite a mouthful, but that's your episode of Weird Stuff Wednesday. I'll see you guys in the next video, and take care.